5 rules that reveal the mistakes that most people make when they go after their goals. All right, rule number 1, decide what you want and write it down. I feel like I should duck because I feel like you're going to throw something at me. Rule number 2, fire your family. Rule number 3 is this great research. You got to know why you're doing it, and this is deeply personal, and your way. Rule number 4 changes the game. It's called the Hot 15. And finally, don't quit. It's your friend Mel, and welcome to the Mel Robbins podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. It is such an honor to be together and to spend this time with you right now. And if you're a new listener or you're here because somebody shared this conversation with you, I just want to take a moment and personally welcome you to the Mel Robbins podcast family. You pushed play on the exact thing you need to hear today. And I wanted to talk about this topic because I've been reading your emails, and so many of you feel overwhelmed, powerless, out of control. You have no time. You're exhausted. The world seems to be falling apart. And at the same time, your life, your job, the demands of taking care of everybody, it's running you over. And so if you feel like you have no time for yourself, you're in the right place. Because today, I'm going to teach you how to take back control of your life, of your time. You're going to love this. This is all based on research. The way that you reclaim yourself, your time, and your life is by setting an important personal goal. I get it. It's a little counterintuitive. You're super busy, have no time, but hear me out. The research shows that if right now, in the middle of everything else that's going on, you add in something meaningful, you will immediately start to feel more in control of your life and your time. It could be anything. Getting back out in your garden, going back and singing in the choir, something you haven't done in 10 years, volunteering in the community, getting your hospice training. Pursuing something meaningful right now is how you say to yourself, okay, things are crazy, but I am not just my job. I am not just the emails I answer. I am not just the bills I pay. I'm not just the things I do for everybody else. I matter. And when the world feels heavy, you need something inserted into your week that lifts you up. It's almost like giving yourself a life raft. That's why it's important. These personal goals anchor you in the middle of the storm, because a goal is something you've chosen. A goal is something that you say is important. A goal is something that you can control. It's the one thing that the world or your job and everything else that you're doing can't take away from you. And I'm going to teach you 5 rules. 5 rules that are going to help you get really clear about what you want right now, what's like important to you. And also 5 rules that reveal the mistakes that most people make when they go after their goals. These are 5 rules that if you follow them, you can not only start to insert this goal into a busy life right now, you'll also see yourself pursuing it successfully. They're all backed by science and research. You're going to hear all about it from the psychologists, the neuroscientists, and the researchers that will explain why these 5 rules work. And so whether you've been thinking about your goals recently, and that's why you hit play on this, or you got something in the back of your mind that's just been rattling around for decades. If you're sitting here listening going, Mel, you're right. My whole life, all I ever do is work and respond to emails and take care of everybody else. I've forgotten who I am. I don't even know what I want. I don't know what my goals are. This episode today, I dedicate to you. Now, I've tested every one of these 5 rules in my own life. I've used these 5 rules when I launched this podcast. That's a huge goal that I had for years. I used these rules when I sat down to write the Let Them Theory book. I also used these same 5 rules over the past year to launch Pure Genius Protein. That had been a major goal of mine to do something. I was able to insert it into a busy life using these 5 rules. You're going to see how these rules work. And these rules also work for these beautiful small goals. Small goals are so important. Like, I think one of the things that we do in life is we really make ourselves wrong for having these small goals. Like, maybe you have a small goal, like you'd just like to learn how to be a better cook. That's a beautiful goal. I mean, imagine if you pursued that. Maybe you want to volunteer. Like, it's something you've been thinking about. Get more engaged in your community, give back, but you just haven't taken the time to insert it into your life because you keep telling yourself you got no time for that. You'll do it later when you find time. No, we're going to follow the research. Put it in now and you'll feel more in control. So I have a goal of increasing my grip strength. And one of the reasons why is so many of the experts that have come on this podcast have been talking about, for women in particular, our grip strength is a really important thing. And so I've been working on something just called like the dead hang, where you hold on to a pull-up bar. I'm not even asking myself to do a pull-up yet. I'm just holding on. Another one, drinking more water. You always see me with this big mason jar. If you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, I almost always have a huge mason jar, big wide mouth one sitting next to me because I'm trying to drink more water. Here's another little goal of mine. I really want to feel closer to my adult kids. And it means I got to kind of shift how I'm showing up, because how you show up with your kids when they're young adults is different than how you stay close to them when they're adults. Maybe you've got a goal like this. Maybe you want to start a meditation practice, or you want to start journaling. Maybe you want to sell your first piece of art. Maybe you really want to get that business plan done. Maybe you do want to volunteer in the community. Maybe you're inspired to get a certification, like you want to take that yoga teacher training, or you just want to have an evening stretching routine, or maybe you've got kind of something big. As you're listening to me, you're going, well, if Mel's going to give me 5 rules, I might as well work on writing that book. I might as well make a plan to move to a new city or a different country. I might as well stop talking about that YouTube channel or podcast and actually do it. Whatever it is that your goal is, it's got to be personal. And it's important. And once you insert this personal goal, this thing that's meaningful to you that you're working on, it's sort of like having a little secret project. You got a little secret quest that you're working on. Kind of makes things feel like, okay, there's something else going on other than reading the headlines, other than answering the emails, other than making it to the next Zoom call, other than stressing about everybody else in my life. There's something going on that's important. And these rules are going to help you get clear about what that is and honest with yourself. And they're going to help you get started. And more importantly, they're going to help make it easier week after week to keep inserting this thing in, because you're going to find that every time you do, that week gets a little bit better. All right, so let's just jump in with rule number 1. Now, rule number 1, decide what you want and write it down. I feel like I should duck because I feel like you're going to throw something at me. Like, really? That buildup, Mel? And now you're going to be like Captain freaking Obvious? Decide what you want and write it down? Yeah. Believe it or not, this is the rule that almost everybody misses, because you manage your goals in your head. And think about it. You can't hit a target that you don't see. So rule number 1, you have to get clear about what you want. And then second, you got to write it down. You know, I remember Oprah once, somebody asked her, Oprah, why do you think so many people get stuck? Her answer, because most people never take the time to get clear about what they want. Really let that sink in. Most people never take the time to get clear about what they want. And right now, you're not clear because you keep saying, I don't have time. I'm too exhausted. There's so much going on in the world. My goals don't seem important right now. They're actually extraordinarily important. And so maybe the reason that you've never, ever seen this come to fruition is because you haven't gotten past the point of just thinking about it. You never got specific and honest with yourself and said, this is exactly what I want. There is so much power that comes from declaring something as a goal. But if you haven't taken a moment to write down on a physical piece of paper that your goal right now this week is to insert meditating, do you think you're actually going to do it? Of course not, because it's up there floating around in your mind with everything else that you keep trying to remember to do and then forget to do, just like me. I mean, let's just role play for a little bit. How long have you been thinking about volunteering in the community? A decade? A year? How long have you been thinking about picking up a paintbrush again? Or hitting publish on that video that's been sitting in draft on social media or YouTube? Or truly updating your website? You know you got to have a better website, but you can't do it. Or resuming the gym membership that you put on pause a year ago? Is it getting you any closer to that goal just thinking about it? No. In fact, it kind of tortures you a little bit. And the reason that you feel overwhelmed by everything else going on in your life is because you're not making a decision to stop thinking about these things and actually do it. And so this first step, get clear about what you want and write it down, is how we do that. It's how we get serious. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, Mel, I don't even know what to write down. I don't even know what I want. Here's what I will promise you. As you listen to our conversation today, by the time this episode is over, you will have about 15 things that have popped into your mind. Because I guarantee you what's going on with you is you've just become so reactive, responding to everything and everyone else, that you haven't slowed down long enough and gotten quiet enough and giving yourself permission to really think about what you want. And here's another way you can think about this. What problem in your life are you trying to solve? What problem in your life are you trying to solve? I'm going to give you two examples. First, I'm going to give you one from my husband, Chris. That was a problem he was trying to solve that allowed him to get clear about what he wanted, that then became a goal that was important, that he inserted into his busy life, and it gave him a tremendous amount of meaning. So my husband, Chris, is a death doula. He is also a holotropic breathwork instructor, and he leads a men's retreat. He's getting a master's in spiritual psychology. He meditates every single day. And he had a problem in his life. He felt like he was lacking community. He felt like he was missing out on a community of people that he could see, on a regular basis that were also in a meditation practice. And so when he realized that he had this problem, that he was lacking community, his goal became, well, how do I create it? And you know what that man did in the middle of everything else going on? He said, you know what I'm going to do? On Tuesday nights at 5:30, I think I'm just going to hold a free meditation circle for an hour. I'm going to post it on the local Facebook. I'm going to find a place in our community to let me host this thing. You'd be surprised what your local library or community center or a restaurant that might not be open on a Tuesday night might let you do as a way to kind of give back to the community. And sure enough, for the last year, Chris hosted a weekly 1-hour meditation circle. He had a problem, and the problem in his life was community, and he made it a goal to solve it. Isn't that beautiful? Now, stop and ask yourself this. Do you think if you were to do something similar for an hour every week, even though you're so busy, like if you had something on a Tuesday night that you did for an hour that really lifted you up and created meaning in your life, don't you think your life would feel a little bit better right now? Can't you see how inserting something simple, even when just 2 people show up, maybe 5, I think the most they ever had was 7 show up, it didn't matter because it was so meaningful to be connected to people and to have this thing every week to look forward to and to know that you were doing something for you that did something important in your life. The same thing happened for me with Pure Genius Protein. A lot of people are like, oh, did you want to start a business? I was like, I actually was not looking to start a business. It started as a personal goal. I just wanted to put my health first. My daughter looked at me about a year ago and she grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, Mom, I have to tell you something. She said, you need to start prioritizing your health. You're 56 years old. You're running yourself into the ground. You need to really take all the health advice seriously. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about how you are just running yourself into the ground. I realize you love what you do. I realize you care a lot. And you probably relate to that. The reason why you're so tired and you're so busy is you care so much. That's why you do so much. And so I started listening to the experts on this podcast. I got a resistance train. You've heard that too. I got to start prioritizing protein. Then I went to my doctor and my doctor's like, okay, Mel, for you and your health, you got to get about 125, 140, grams of high quality protein every day. Now I cook. I love to eat. I thought this isn't going to be a problem. Do you know how hard it is to get 125 grams of protein every day? And so here I start going for this thing that I think is going to make me feel better, but I can't actually achieve it. So now it's making me feel worse. And as many egg bites as I would eat and smoothies that I would make and chicken breasts that I would cook and salmon that I would roast and bars that I would choke down, I'm just like, I can't do this. I either can't get the goal or I'm eating 5,000 calories. And that's not part of the goal here. So I had a problem. How do I get more high quality protein in? And I'm not going to sit around and wait for somebody else to solve this. I'm not going to cross my fingers and hope that somebody else figures out how to make this better. I think I want to get involved and solve this problem that I had. And once I decided, okay, I think it would be very meaningful to work with world-renowned researchers and medical experts, become a founder of a protein company, something I've never done in my life, and work on this problem and make the product better. That would add a lot of meaning to my life. And so that's how that became a goal of mine this year, to step into Pure Genius Protein, to recruit a world-class medical board, to really be committed to creating the best possible product you could, because this was something I was looking for. So again, it didn't start out like, I'm going to start a protein company. It started out with a real problem that I was grappling with, something that was important to me. And so as you keep listening, you're going to hear examples that inspire you and say, oh, I'd like to do that. Yeah. That would put a lot of meaning into my life. Or I invite you to listen and think about the problems that you're trying to solve. Because inside that problem, whether it's a lack of community, or you're struggling to achieve your health goals, or there's something going on with a family member that's become a problem and you really, want to invest in solving it, or there's something going on in your career, that can also become the root of the goal that matters to you. And this is why rule number 1 matters so much. If you can't get clear with yourself, if you don't know what's important, you're going to get swallowed up by everything else. You know how I always say, if everything's important, nothing is? If you don't declare what's important, nothing will seem important in your life. And I want to bring in one more expert, James Clear. So James Clear wrote Atomic Habits. That's a #1 New York Times bestselling blockbuster of a book. He's a good friend. He's an expert on habit formation. He has this quote that I love. Clarity is freedom. Know what is important to you, and it will grant you the freedom to ignore everything else. See, I often think that one of the reasons why you have no time is it's easy to get to a point in your life where everybody else's stuff is more important. If you can declare something that is important, it gives you the freedom to ignore everything else. I'll give you the perfect example of this. If you've ever had young kids in daycare and the daycare pickup is 6:00, that is important to you if you are a working parent. And when 5:00 rolls around, if you've got an hour commute, keep in mind, you don't want to be the last parent there as they've turned off the lights and they're standing there with your baby in the hallway waiting for you. I've been there. But if it's important to you, have you ever noticed lots of things disappear? That Zoom call can wait. The emails can wait. And that's why it's so important. James is not the only researcher who can back this up. The late Dr. Jim Doty, who is the renowned Stanford neurosurgeon and neuroscientist, has done extensive research on what happens when you name what you want, when you write it down, and then when you add in one other thing that I'm about to explain to you. Now, Dr. Doty is one of the most extraordinary human beings I have ever had the privilege of learning from. He founded the Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism Research, and his research as a neurosurgeon and a neuroscientist shows that your brain changes through repetition. In neuroscience, it's called Hebbian learning. What fires together, wires together. And Dr. Doty explained that the fastest way for you to wire in the importance of this goal is to bring online as many sensory systems as you can, like smell and taste and emotion. Dr. Doty said, if you have a goal, he wants you to take a pencil. I'm holding a pen, it doesn't matter. You take a pencil, you write it down. And when you're writing it down, you're doing something physical, tactile. Then you're going to read it silently to yourself. So you look down and you read it silently. Then you read it out loud. Okay, you're going to volunteer for hospice. You're going to write that book. You're going to put yourself back out there and meet the love of your life. You're going to do the dead arm hang for a minute. Then you visualize. And when you visualize yourself doing it, I want you to not just visualize, okay, it's been a minute, now you drop. You visualize this and you ask how you can get certified to volunteer. And then you visualize yourself going to the meeting. And then you visualize yourself driving the meals or sitting bedside with somebody, and see what you want in your imagination. And as you do this, your brain builds the circuitry to make it easier in real life. And it's not just neuroscientists that can explain this. This is a technique that Olympians use. They visualize their routines before they do them, because basically it's a way to do the mental reps to get your brain to anticipate what's going to happen. This is why pilots train in simulators. Your brain loves rehearsal. And so when you combine all three, naming it, writing it down, visualizing it, works so well. Every sensory channel you activate lights up different parts of your brain. And when these systems fire up together around the same thing that you want, you create deeper, stronger neural pathways. And it allows the goal to really become part of your subconscious. You're not just thinking about it anymore. You have encoded it into your brain. And now your brain's like, oh yeah, we're doing this. We think, like, I can visualize doing this. You see how powerful this is? And this is particularly important if you're constantly like talking yourself out of everything. Dr. Jim Doty says all of that like nastiness, all the ways you say no, I'm too late, I'm too this, I can't do this. That's a part of your brain called the default mode network that is just in overdrive. Why? Well, he's already taught you this because repetition causes your brain to remember things. You know how long you've been saying this garbage to yourself? And that's why you can use this process that Dr. Doty taught us on this podcast. And I'm simplifying for you right now. You got to get clear about what you want and you got to write it down because we are going to override that loop of negativity that's been in there probably your whole life. If you don't declare what's important to you, if you don't get clear about what you want, the things that are meaningful, everybody else's stuff is going to fall right in the front of the line. So do not skip this step. Okay. Now, once you know, what do you want? What is it? What that's important to you? Let's talk about rule number 2. Okay. And I'm going to warn you, you're not going to like this.